But one of the main obstacles, a lot of folks don't know, and I start the book off, How to Play the Game of College, which I know we'll talk more about later. But the first chapter in the book, I talk about my story of being a first generation college student. And for those who don't know what first generation, I'm the first in my family to actually go to college and, of course, go to a doctorate degree. But even when we're looking at undergraduate, and so, so many times when you don't have that, I always say like that map or agenda or that roadmap in front of you, it could be difficult. And so that was my story. And so, one of the main obstacles is that I didn't know a lot about college or if I wanted to go. However, I did have people that God put in my life, such as school counselors that I shout out in the book, teachers that say, hey, we're going to help you, come down here, let's meet. When we have college visits, we're going to go on those college visits. We need to pay for application fee. We're going to have that to happen. And so, overcoming that obstacle to, again, be the first in my family to go to school, undergraduate, then to go on and get a master's and then recently a doctorate. And then how crazy is this? I get to help students a lot like me.
Hey everybody, I'm back with another episode of Soul Success Stories. And today I am talking to my friend, Dr. Shawn Boyd. I met Shawn, oh my gosh, it's probably been almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When he was at the University of Memphis as a director, I think over a program that my son was participating in, STEM education program. And I met Shawn and he has now gone on to do some amazing things, including getting his doctorate and becoming an author, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But his official title, day job, is the director of post-secondary engagement for Tennessee SCORE. So we'll get into all of that. But Shawn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you again, Summer, for having me. Just listen to the introduction. I'm like, wow, it's been 15 years, which is crazy.
It is crazy.
And so you kind of gave the background, but yes, born and raised here in Memphis, Tennessee. Went to Overton High School, actually, class of '99. So came through, Memphis City schools back then, of course, Memphis Shelby County schools now. Went off to college, MTSU, undergrad, and I just couldn't stay away from Memphis. So it's like things were just pulling me back here in the city. I didn't want to come back. I wanted to kind of go away, but the rest has been history. I've been able to come back, really make a dent in the post-secondary world here in Memphis. I worked at every college. You mentioned one of them. I always like to say pretty much every college here in Memphis. University of Memphis for 7 years. I worked at the Lamont College, HBCU here in Memphis. UT Health Science Center, College of Nursing. Community College, Southwest, and then now I'm in policy work around post-secondary for the state. And so in this role, I get a chance to work with pretty much all institutions in the state of Tennessee to look at, access for students of color when it comes to our public institutions, but more importantly, making sure when they get there, they're persistent and they're completing. And so every day I wake up, my why is the students and why I do what I do.
I love it. And I did not realize you had worked for all those schools.
Yes.
That's cool. That is cool. So you're a perfect fit for fighting for education and doing education and training. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, let's get into our questions because we got to tell your story, tell the journey. So in this program, I have what I call the Soul Success System. It's my belief that anyone, absolutely anyone, if they can learn how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices, they can have what I call so what success. And that is success no matter what happens in life. And Shawn, you have definitely demonstrated through the years that I've known you that you're a success man. You know how to make stuff happen in spite of challenges. But first, talk to us a little bit about overcoming obstacles. Share some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome and just how you've overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, so overcoming obstacles. I've had quite a few, and I think that's everybody. So it's not unique to, Shawn Boyd. But one of the main obstacles, a lot of folks don't know, and I start the book off, How to Play the Game of College, which I know we'll talk more about later. But the first chapter in the book, I talk about my story of being a first generation college student. And for those who don't know what first generation, I'm the first in my family to actually go to college and, of course, go up to a doctorate degree. But even when we're looking at undergraduate. And so, so many times when you don't have that, I always say like that map or agenda or that roadmap in front of you, it could be difficult. And so that was my story. And so, one of the main obstacles is that I didn't know a lot about college or if I wanted to go. However, I did have people that God put in my life, such as school counselors that I shout out in the book, teachers that say, hey, we're going to help you, come down here, let's meet. When we have college visits, we're going to go on those college visits. We need to pay for application fee. We're going to have that to happen. And so, overcoming that obstacle to, again, be the first in my family to go to school, undergraduate, then to go on and get a master's and then recently a doctorate. And then how crazy is this? I get to help students a lot like me, right? And that's why I got into this work. I see so many students that, say, well, I don't really know about college or what the value of college, right? My mom didn't go, my dad didn't go, and so how can I, kind of break this generational curse, for example. And so that's probably one of the main obstacles I would say that I had to overcome. And, I never look back. I've been going and running ever since then. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm first gen too, so I totally understand. I understand the challenges and figuring it out and how hard it might be.
Yeah.
And then just family situations, family structure, and how people who are first gen is how they're become different than their family. Some of those challenges with that. So I totally get it, but it's also a blessing though that you're able to now serve in that capacity because you understand better than anybody else, right?
So true. Yeah.
First gen. Well, that's awesome. So that's a huge obstacle. You've overcome the obstacle. Now you're giving back. The second part of the SOA success system is eliminating excuses. So we know about excuses and we know what excuses are. and you could have made a lot of excuses, but talk about something that maybe you did make or some that you just knew you had to eliminate to get to where you are today. And that's, personally and professionally.
Yeah. So I think, again, when you were saying excuses, I think everybody has, used them in their lifetime, right? I think, when you're in a level of comfort, it's easy to say, hey, let me think of this excuse why I can't be successful or I can't go to the next level. And that's been most of my life. I always try to tell, folks that I talk to, especially young people, you see Dr. Boyd, I always laugh when people introduce me because, you only hear the bio of people, but it's rare that you hear what it took to get to that bio, And so I try to share my story as often as I can. Number one, to let people know if I did it, you can do it too. I'm not special. I just told you, first generation college student. And, my goal is to say, hey, if I did it, you can do it too. I think it's all mental. I'm real big on like really motivating yourself, talking to yourself, pushing yourself, and really having people in your life that will hold you accountable. And I've really been blessed in that aspect. I just mentioned even teachers in high school that push me, and that's been my life story. So like I have so many mentors, and I even talk about that in the book, how mentorship is so important. And not only having people that's going to tell you yes all the time, right? Like that, hey, you the greatest thing in the world, right? You want people that's like, hey, let me pull you to the side. What can we do to improve on this? Or things that you might not want to hear. And it really helps you to eliminate the excuses. And I always laugh, even, in college, sometimes, I'm Greek and I know you're Greek too. One of our mottos in our fraternity and a lot of the NPAC fraternity is like, what are excuses, right? And so you have to learn to overcome them and find the solutions and not just, really focus in on the problems, if that makes sense.
I love it. It absolutely makes sense. That's everything I'm about is turning problems into solutions because there is a solution. You just have to be willing to seek it no matter what the problem is. So the third part of the SOA success system is calculating choices. So I have a ton of questions for you, actually just thoughts, but I want you to talk about your journey in calculating choices, even from moving to school and the choice to go after your doctorate, especially as a first generation, as a dad, you didn't mention that specifically. Be sure you mention that to your family, but talk about some calculated choices you've made on your journey.
Yeah, so I think one of the most recent, calculated choices, and I always say, we look at people what we consider successful, right, or people who's like taking the chances in life. It's not easy. I looked at a quote earlier by Kelvin Woods who posted like the tax you pay to be successful is sometimes loneliness, right? And I never forget in high school reading an article about Kobe Bryant. And that article like stuck with me through the years. And it was almost depressing in a sense. I remember him, like we see Kobe, right? We see Kobe Bryant, this legend, right? Who's a superstar, celebrity. But he was like, it's sometimes lonely at the top. Like it's not many people that's doing what I'm doing. So I can't really go to people and ask for advice because it's not many of me out here, right? And so that's sometimes been my life journey, like, taking those calculated decisions or risk. My doctorate was one of them. I drove down. People don't know it. I didn't do online. I actually drove down to Nashville twice a month for almost 3 years. Huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's not up the street, so it was always funny. Every time I would leave Memphis, it was raining. And I was like, oh Jesus, I'm got to drive in the rain. I'm tired from the work week. As you mentioned, I got a family. My son, who's 14, Caleb, my daughter, Kendall, who's 10. But at the time, they were younger. And so I had to miss out on baseball games. I had to miss out on dance recitals. I'm getting text messages and pictures. And, I'm sitting in class like, man, is it really worth it? But I think you have to put into context like, hey, what I'm doing is not just for me. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for generations. I always say when I get the doctorate, it was exciting for me, but I really saw how my kids looked at it. I saw how people in the community, like I always say, my degree is our degree, because I saw people that was like rooting with me through the process. Like many people wrote and was like, hey man, let me send you some gas money. I see you driving all the time. Or let me pray for you, or let me send you a quote, and those things like really helped along the way to make those decisions. And so to answer your questions, I think calculated risk or just taking those jumps, right? It's tough. It's tough, but I always feel that God puts us in position. We just have to kind of like realize it, but he puts us in position to go forth with his plan. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing God's work. I tell people I'm just a vessel. I'm just a vessel. So every day I get up, God, thank you for allowing me to do this work. That's my daily prayer.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
And I feel it. I feel it. And I feel the same in my own life, in my own journey and what I do. And then we're talking about the sacrifice you made to get your PhD. It reminded me, I don't have my PhD just yet. I don't know. Sometimes I think about it. But getting my master's degree, it was a similar journey.
Yeah.
MBA in that thinking about the sacrifice for your family. But the also beautiful thing is it becomes a memory, right? Because like, wait, I did that, and it's over, and you did it. But that's so important. The gray hair
shows you that you did go.
But it's so powerful, though. I think to even point that out is that it's so hard. It feels like such a sacrifice while you're going through that thing. Is that, and for the PhD for you, for me, it was the MBA. For other people watching this, it's something else. It feels like such a challenge, but there is an end.
So
that
true.
There's an end.
So true.
And then once you get to the end, you can look back on it. It's like, oh wow, I did that. And then it becomes a memory and just another accomplishment and a reminder that you can do so much more, even when it's hard. So I like that you shared that.
Thank you.
I like it. And I love also how you talked about the support that you got and somebody sending you gas money and saying they're praying for you. What I heard in that, though, is just those are ways. A lot of times people think they can't support people. If I can't write a paper for you, I can't. No, just those small things make a huge difference. And I think that's important for us to understand how we can support somebody on their journey when they're trying to do something tough. So look, before we go to the next part, talk about your book a little bit and that calculated choice to write a book. It's a big deal.
Yes, I was gonna say I need something to drink in my cup. That's how but yes, so when I say that was a hard project, HEART, right? So when I got done with my doctorate, which has been 2 years now, I laugh at some of my friends who did the same thing. I was like, I want to get back to Netflix. I want to go out. I want to catch, because I was like in my bubble, like this bubble for like 3 years. So like people watching stuff on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm so behind. I don't have time. I got to be research. I got to find articles. And so one of the things I want to do is like be productive, because I had already I was in the habit, right? And that's key for success. So like I had 3 hours, 4 hours a day, I was working, on my dissertation. And so I was like, let me put something in that spot. I always want to write a book because, again, over the colleges that I mentioned earlier, I've mainly worked with students of color, right? Or students who were like me, first generation, or low income students, or students that, by the world's point of view, were not college ready, whatever that might mean for some people. But I love working with that group of students. I was like, I want a resource that I can put together, because Shawn Boyd can't be at every place, right? In University of Memphis, my office was a merry-go-round. And because of that, because people, like you said earlier, they saw themselves in me. They saw a Black guy, just somebody they felt comfortable with, somebody who had their best interests at heart, And so I was like, I want to like write something that hopefully could be around for generations, right? That could go across the world. I'm speaking big. That can go across the world. That can really help students navigate this world of post-secondary. And again, Summer, post-secondary is more than just a 4-year institution. It could be a certificate. It could be community college, whatever the case may be. And so it was a huge sacrifice. You don't know how many times I picked that book up and put it down. Several times. I started, I do 2 pages. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I'm going to wait. I wait a month. Some, I pick it back up. And so last year, I made a choice, a calculated decision, as we talked about. I was like, this year, I'm not going to keep saying I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. I want to be, I got a book out this year. And so that's what happened. And so it came out 3 months ago. I was super excited over the response. I had no idea, because again, I didn't price the book until the day before it was out. So that lets you know, like, money was not this thing. Like, my thing was like, I want to write something that's, if it's one strategy out of the book that can help students and parents, my job is done. And so super excited. How to Play the Game of College. You can get it on Amazon, my website, www.drshawnboyd.com. Super excited.
I love it. And trust me, I understand everything that you said. It took me basically 10 years to write my book for the same reason of starting it, stopping it. Like, do I really want to do this? I don't feel like doing it, writing it, and then losing some of it. And I was like, I got to rewrite. So I totally understand. I totally understand. But it's a huge accomplishment. It's like birthing another baby, right?
Man, you're sensitive about it. And I want to say, I know we're going to another question, but Summer, I got your book probably, 14, 15 years ago, and I still have it, which is crazy. I meant to pull it out. But people like you, right? Like seeing you write your book, and then seeing how it's still around 15 years later and all that you've been able to do. My mom, who works at Southwest part-time, she's retired but wanted to do something. She came home. She was like, I met this girl named Summer Owens, and she had this book. And I'm like, and I think I wrote you, and I was like, man, they just let me know like how it can just keep these legs and how you've been able to move it. So hats off to you as well.
I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And I'm grateful, because the same thing with you. I didn't write it because I wanted to make money. And I didn't write it because I didn't even write it because I wanted to share my story. I wrote it because I felt like what I knew could help somebody. So it's the exact same thing with you. And I'm grateful that it's continuing to help people. And and it's the whole reason why I have So What Now, why I'm even talking to you about this right now. It's a blessing. So I'm excited for you and whatever will come from you doing this and all the lives that you're going to touch. And I already know that you won't even know most of the lives that you touch, because that's the power of the book. And that's actually why I wrote mine too, is because you can't be everywhere, but your book can be anywhere.
So true.
And it will be everywhere. I'm going to speak that with you.
I receive it. Yes.
So Shawn, you have proven that you know how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices. And you've had so much success. But what is your personal definition of success?
Wow. My personal definition of success is consistency. And it sounds so simple, but I think if you're consistent in what you do, right? As you know, Summer, there's going to be some up days. There's going to be some down days. Like I went out with some friends maybe 3 weeks ago, right? And I started out the conversation, y'all. I love y'all. I love the support, but I don't want to talk about this book. Because it had been, everywhere I go,
Yep.
right? The book. I was like, I just need time to unwind. I don't want to talk about it. But, I think when you're consistent, it's just things just happen. And so I'll kind of always compare it to the gym. Gym is therapy for me. I tell people and they kind of look at me crazy, but I'm at the gym every morning at 5:30, right? And that's just how I start my day. Like I get up, I started meditation, I started journaling, which has been a huge help for me. And then I also do the gym. And some days I don't feel like the gym. But what I've noticed, if I'm consistent, right? If I'm consistent, I keep going, I'm going to drop some pounds, or I'm going to just develop this habit that I can incorporate in other areas of my life. So I think consistency, there's so many, I always say, one hit wonders in the world. It's a lot of people that could gain success one time, right? There's a lot. We hear them, the songs on the radio. We be like, now what happened to that person? That was a good song. But there's not too many Beyoncés. There's not too many Jay-Z's who keep the success going by being consistent. And again, I say consistency is not you're going to have these great days every day, right? I think you have to give yourself grace. I think you have to give yourself time to unplug. As I just stated, being out with friends, I didn't want to talk about the book that day. I just didn't. But then I'm like, next day I got back up. I want to do something else around the book. I'm back, And so just being being consistent is my definition of success.
I love it. And like you said, that's not easy.
Yeah.
That is not easy. It is not easy in any way, because I'll tell you where I struggle in a lot of ways. Outside looking in, some people don't see that, don't understand it, but that is my reality. And sometimes I do have a challenge with consistency, but at the same time, we won't see that success, or we won't see the level of success that we could see if we aren't. So I think that's good. Well, look, okay, I have one last question, and that was a good answer for this question. So now you got to come up with something different, though.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone watching this who wants to be successful, but they run into obstacles?
Very good question, Summer. That means I'm thinking. One piece of advice I would give, and I try to give to folks that I encounter, is to just try it. I feel like we don't even try things. I think we limit ourselves before we even think about trying. And I even tell my kids that, they'll say quickly, we go out to a new restaurant, I don't want to try that. I ain't gonna like it. And I'm like, you never even tried. You didn't even taste it. And, we were at a restaurant a few weeks ago, and my son, he thought about it. He tried it. He was like, can I have another one? And I feel like that's what we do in life. Like it's so many people that are just comfortable with being complacent. The same as we have a fear of failure, I think a lot of people have a fear of success. I've been there. I promise you I've been there. Like I've questioned many days, man, this is a real answer I'm about to give you. I questioned many days, like, God, why me? Like, why could I just not go work at a factory, do an 8 to 5, like just be kind of normal in a sense. But then I had to realize I just wasn't built for that. Like I had the moment I really realized that, which has been years ago, I wasn't built to be a normal person. I just wasn't. And so the quicker I got there and really step out on faith and really try things, right? Doors just open. Things just like line up. God just say, hey, follow my will. I'm taking you to church on me. Follow my will, right? I got you. Just step out. Just trust me. And so I've had issues with trust. I had issues with just like taking the chance, trying things. But the older I get, I always say like, why not? What's the worst that can happen, right? What's the worst that can happen? And so that's my advice to anybody. At least try it. You don't want to be one of those people that are 70, 80 years old talking about I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want to be one of those people that say, I did that, or I am doing that. And so just kind of like adapt that model on a daily basis and watch how different your life changes.
I love that answer. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it made me think about when I quit my job. When I quit my job at FedEx, and that was not an easy thing. It was not an easy decision. Yeah. But it was that at the end of the day, that's what it came down to, is that's where I felt like my heart was leading me. And I had like, I gotta try. And the worst thing that could happen, and this is in that situation, in any other situation, is I could fail. It didn't work. It didn't work. But you tried, and I did. Man. I said, I will not die or get old thinking I wish I would have tried.
So true.
And then you know what you made me think of? I took my granddaughter to have sushi. She's never had sushi. She's a picky eater, but I say the same thing that you said. I'm like, try it. And guess what? She
loves it. Right.
She liked it. So that is excellent advice that I think can be applied to anything in our lives.
So true. Anything. So true. Yes.
Well, Shawn, I appreciate your time. We have, it's amazing how fast time goes by.
I know. Yes.
At the same time, it's been amazing watching your journey.
Thank you.
And seeing where you are and how you're impacting other people's lives. So I'm super excited about what's to come. And I just thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And again, hats off to you. I've been watching your journey. Again, you don't know how many people are on the sidelines. And I try to tell people, and I hope I've always told you, the work that you're doing, man, it's inspiring me to do what I do as well. So again, hats off to you. Yes.
Thank you, Shawn. Let's help these kids. Let's help everybody.
We trying one at a time.